Will I be made personally liable for my bounce back loan if I liquidate my company? This is a question I get asked most days, and with over 1.5 million bounce back loans that were given out to UK businesses, and the reality is not all of them have actually bounced back. So the answer to the question is it depends. I'm sorry to give it you like that, but I'm going to explain a little bit more in the video about when you may be made personally liable for a bounce back loan. Now, the premise of a bounce back loan is there was no personal guarantees that needed to be signed. So it was an ideal loan for both the borrower and the lender, because if a bounce back loan doesn't get paid back, the government will step in and pay the money back to the bank that issued you the loan. And also the borrower of the loan didn't have to sign a personal guarantee. So if the loan goes into default and the business doesn't survive, this is for limited companies, by the way, then the director couldn't be made personally liable. Except there are a number of situations where a director will be made personally liable for a bounce back loan. I'm going to try and go into them in as much detail as I can do on this video. Now, let's start at the top. When a bounce back loan was taken by a company that didn't qualify for it. So when you applied for a bounce back loan, you needed to be trading and you couldn't be an undertaking in difficulty. So this means that, you wasn't facing insolvency proceedings when you made the application for the loan. Remember, a dormant company could not take the loan. You had to be a trading company. Now, the second thing where you may be made personally responsible for your bounce back loan if you liquidate is if you've misappropriated that bounce back loan. So another thing that you had to self-declare when you applied for the bounce back loan was you would spend it on the economic benefit of the company that borrowed it. So let's just go through what would be classed as the economic benefit. Well, you needed to use it for working capital. You might have paid some suppliers. You might have paid some staff's wages. You may have spent it on some HMRC arrears or stock. You could have even used it for your salary. But what you couldn't use it for was a new car. You couldn't use it for an extension to your house. You couldn't use it for a new boat. I know some of you are laughing here, but I have heard stories that will make your toes curl. So if you have been found to have not spent that bounce back loan on the benefit of that company, that's going to land you in trouble, very highly likely. Number 3, when a director falsified the turnover of the company to get a larger loan. So let's go back to the application process again. You had to self-declare what your turnover was. And what the rules were is you could apply for 25% of 2019's turnover, capped at £50,000. Now, I get lots of people on the phone that say to me, Chris, I thought you could estimate your turnover. You could estimate your turnover if you was incorporated after the 1st of January 2019. If you was incorporated before the 1st of January 2019, you had to go on 2019's turnover. So let me just give you some examples. If your turnover in the calendar year 2019 was £50,000, you could apply for £12,500. If your turnover was £200,000, you could apply for £50,000. If your turnover was £300,000, you could apply for £50,000. Now, if it's been found that you falsified your turnover to get a larger bounce back loan, this is one of the situations where you are going to find yourself being made personally liable for some or all of that loan. Right, point number 4, preference payments. What does that mean? So if you can imagine, when a business becomes insolvent, you've got to treat all the creditors equally. You can't pay one creditor in preference of another. So let me give you a scenario. You've signed a personal guarantee with a supplier. You owe HMRC, you owe the bounce back loans, you owe other suppliers. But what you've done with your bounce back loan is you've paid the supplier off where you've signed a personal guarantee. Well, that's clearly in preference. You've paid that off to benefit you. And you've left all the other creditors wanting. That's a preference payment. If you decide to pay back your mother-in-law or your friend a loan that they've given you, in preference of the revenue, in preference of other suppliers, in preference of the bank, that's going to be classed as a preference payment. And these are the things that an insolvency practitioner are going to check once they become appointed. And it's another scenario where you could be made personally liable for a bounce back loan if you liquidate. Point number 5, overdrawn directors' loans. Okay, so I've done lots of videos on this, but let me talk to you in this context. An overdrawn loan account is where you, the director, owe the company money. And I have lost count of how many directors that I've spoke to who use the bounce back loan to basically supplement their income. Now, you may have heard me earlier in the video saying you could have took the bounce back loan and used it for salary. But in this context, salary is something that goes through the pay-as-you-earn scheme. If most directors, they take a little bit of salary through PAYE and the rest they take as drawings, and once a year they declare a dividend. Now, let's just imagine you pay yourself £4,000 a month, so that's £48,000 a year, and £1,000 a month goes through the pay-as-you-earn scheme. Now, the other £3,000 a month, you as a director in your head are thinking, oh, well, they're my dividends. But you can only take dividends from a company that's making profit. Now, if you've not made a profit, or you've made less a profit than you're used to, when you go to liquidate, it's highly likely you're going to have built up an overdrawn director's loan account. Now, you're not being made personally responsible for the bounce back loan here, but in a roundabout way, you're going to be made to pay back that director's loan that you've built up. So I hope that this has been clear. There's five key reasons where you may be made personally liable for a bounce back loan. Number 1, you took a bounce back loan when you shouldn't have done. Number 2, you falsified your turnover. Number 3, you've spent the bounce back loan inappropriately. Number 4, you've made preference payments on the bounce back loan. And number 5, you've incurred an overdrawn director's loan account which will need to be paid back in a liquidation scenario. Listen, I hope you found the video useful. Please engage with us. Give us a comment. Give us a like. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Chris Worden, First Business Rescue. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.